I never thought marrying into a wealthy family would end with me fighting for my life in a blizzard. As a civil engineer from a middle-class background, I worked hard to earn respect from my wife Amanda's elitist parents. But that winter night, as they locked me out of our house during the worst snowstorm in decades, laughing as I begged to be let in, I realized some people never intended to accept me. What they saw as a cruel joke became the moment that would change all our lives forever. Before I share how this freezing nightmare became the turning point in my life, let me know where you are watching from in the comments, and hit subscribe if you have ever had to stand up against family bullying. 5 years ago, I met Amanda at a charity event where I was volunteering as an engineer for a low-income housing project. With her designer dress and perfect smile, she stood out among the wealthy donors. To my surprise, she approached me curious about my work. While I explained the sustainable building techniques we were implementing, she listened with what seemed like genuine interest. Most men I meet only talk about their investment portfolios or vacation homes, she said. Your passion for creating something meaningful is refreshing. Our connection was immediate and intense. Within weeks, we were dating seriously. Amanda appeared fascinated by my normal upbringing, the values my parents had instilled in me, and my dedication to practical work that improved communities. I fell hard for her intelligence, her apparent desire for authenticity, and the way she seemed to see beyond our different backgrounds. 3 months into our relationship, Amanda introduced me to her family. Richard, her father, was a prominent real estate developer known for luxury high-rises across the Northeast. Patricia, her mother, maintained their social standing through charity boards and exclusive club memberships. Her brother Ethan was following in their father's footsteps, already managing several properties despite being only 26. The first dinner at their mansion should have warned me. While they maintained polite smiles, their questions carried subtle daggers. Civil engineering must be fulfilling, Richard said, emphasizing the word, as if it were a consolation prize, though the compensation cannot compare to development. Isaiah comes from a small town in Ohio, Amanda added, as Patricia raised her eyebrows. How quaint, Patricia responded. We summer near Cleveland occasionally. Such rustic charm in those areas. I brushed off their condescension, believing Amanda was different from her family. When I proposed 6 months later, she accepted enthusiastically. The day after our engagement, Richard requested a private meeting at his office. Amanda has significant assets to protect, he said, without preamble, sliding a prenuptial agreement across his mahogany desk. Nothing personal, just smart business. Though uncomfortable, I signed it. I had nothing to hide and nothing to protect beyond my modest savings and professional reputation. Our wedding was a spectacle that made the society pages, planned entirely by Patricia, with minimal input from either of us. 400 guests, most of whom I had never met, witnessed our union at the country club where Amanda had grown up taking tennis lessons. Throughout the event, I felt like an actor in a play rather than a groom. During our first year of marriage, the dynamic with her family grew increasingly strained. I worked long hours at my engineering firm while trying to fit into Amanda's social world of charity galas and country club events. Richard frequently questioned my career progression, comparing it unfavorably to Ethan's rapid ascent through his company's ranks. For our first anniversary, Richard gifted us a house in an exclusive neighborhood conveniently located near their estate. Only later did I discover the property remained in his name, which he claimed was a tax strategy. This arrangement meant every decision about our home required his approval, from landscaping choices to interior paint colors. Family dinners became exercises in endurance, as they belittled my profession, political views, and even my table manners. What hurt most was watching Amanda's transformation. Initially, she would defend me, but gradually she began joining their laughter at my expense. Isaiah still buys off the rack, she once commented to Patricia, who gasped in mock horror. I have tried introducing him to our tailor, but he insists his department store suits are perfectly adequate. When I addressed these concerns privately, Amanda dismissed them entirely. You are being too sensitive, she said. This is just how my family jokes. You need to develop thicker skin if you want to be part of this world. I tried believing that eventually I would earn their respect through hard work and loyalty to Amanda. When she suggested hosting the holiday gathering at our house, I saw it as an opportunity to finally show her family my value. Her entire extended family would attend, including influential cousins and aunts I had yet to meet. Perhaps in my own home, on my own terms, I could shift the dynamic. The weather forecast predicted snow for the holiday weekend, but no one anticipated the severity of the storm that was approaching. The morning of the gathering, I woke early to prepare our home. The weather report had upgraded the snowfall prediction from 6 inches to potentially over 2 feet, with strong winds creating blizzard conditions by evening. I suggested to Amanda that we consider postponing. "Absolutely not," she snapped. "My family never cancels plans. They will think you are using this as an excuse because you are intimidated by them." So I set to work shoveling the driveway and walkways 3 separate times as the snow continued accumulating. I stocked extra firewood, checked our generator, and prepared everything for a potential power outage. By afternoon, the snow was falling heavily, the wind picking up ominously as Amanda arranged flowers and fretted about the temperature of the wine. Richard and Patricia arrived first, their luxury SUV barely visible through the thickening snow. Richard immediately complained about the road conditions. "You should have arranged for plowing service," he said, instead of a greeting. I nearly slid into the gate. Completely unsafe. Patricia eyed our decorations with thinly veiled disapproval. Interesting choice of centerpiece, Amanda. Very rustic. I suppose that reflects Isaiah's influence. As other family members arrived, the criticisms multiplied. The house was too warm, then too cold. The appetizers were too simple. The holiday music selection was outdated. I continued smiling and accommodating their requests, determined to maintain harmony for Amanda's sake. During dinner, conversation turned to my recent promotion to senior project manager. "Congratulations," Richard said with a smirk. Though at your age, Ethan was already overseeing an entire division. "Different industries have different trajectories," I replied evenly. "Indeed," Richard chuckled. "Some trajectories simply aim higher than others." The table erupted in laughter as my face burned with humiliation. Amanda joined in avoiding my eyes. After dessert, I excused myself to check the property. The storm had intensified dramatically, with wind howling and visibility reduced to mere feet. As I walked the perimeter of our yard, I noticed a large branch had partially fallen against our power lines. Concerned about potential fire danger, I spent 20 minutes carefully removing its snow, accumulating on my inadequate coat. As I worked, satisfied that the immediate danger was addressed, I returned to the front door, my fingers numb from cold, eager to warm up with coffee. I turned the handle, but the door would not budge. Thinking it might be stuck from snow accumulation, I knocked firmly. The curtain beside the door moved, and I saw Amanda's face appear. Behind her stood Richard, Patricia, and Ethan. All were laughing. I knocked again, confusion turning to disbelief, as Amanda deliberately engaged the deadbolt with an exaggerated gesture I could clearly see. "Amanda, the door is locked. Let me in." I called through the glass. Instead of responding, she turned to her father, who stepped closer to the window. His voice was muffled but audible through the glass. "Look at him out there, like a stray dog." Richard laughed. "Maybe now you will finally see you married beneath you." I pounded harder. "This is not funny. The temperature is dropping below 20 degrees. Ethan joined them at the window. "Freeze to death, worthless idiot." "Maybe then Amanda can marry someone from our circle." Their laughter grew louder as I continued knocking the seriousness of the situation, becoming clearer with each passing minute. Without proper winter gear, exposure in these conditions could become life-threatening within hours. Through the window, I could see them toasting with champagne glasses, taking photos of my distress. For a brief moment, Amanda's expression changed, something like doubt crossing her features. Richard noticed, placing his arm around her shoulders and whispering in her ear. Her resolve visibly hardened, and she raised her glass toward me in a mock toast. In that moment, an extraordinary clarity washed over me. This was not a temporary lapse in judgment or a misguided prank. This was the true nature of my marriage and my place in their family. I had been tolerated, never accepted. Used for amusement, never respected. I stopped pounding on the door. Through the falling snow, I stared directly into Amanda's eyes for several long seconds. Then, without another word, I turned and walked away from the house. The journey through the snowstorm was treacherous. Wind cut through my light coat and snow quickly soaked my dress shoes and pants. I forced myself to remain calm, remembering my wilderness training from college engineering field trips. My office was 3 miles away, but I had a key and knew there were emergency supplies there. If I could maintain a steady pace without overexerting, I could make it. Each step through the knee-high snow sapped my energy. But each step also took me further from a life built on illusion, and closer to whatever truth awaited on the other side of this night. I reached my office building nearly hypothermic, my extremities numb and movements clumsy as I fumbled with the security keypad. Once inside, I activated the emergency heating system, found the supply closet with its spare clothes and first aid kit, and methodically began addressing my physical condition. As warmth slowly returned to my body, the emotional impact of the night hit me in waves. My wife, the woman I had loved and supported for years, had been willing to put my life at risk for her family's amusement. The profound betrayal went beyond humiliation, beyond emotional cruelty, into something I could only classify as malice. I slept fitfully on the break room couch, waking to the buzzing of my phone, which had miraculously survived the journey in my inside pocket. 27 missed calls from Amanda. 13 text messages ranging from, "Where are you?" to, "You are overreacting to a harmless joke," to, "Please come home, we are worried." I silenced the phone without responding and turned my attention to practical matters. The office was well stocked with food, the internet connection stable despite the storm, and I had access to all my professional files. While the city outside remained paralyzed by snow, I had an unexpected sanctuary to think and plan. As I reviewed project files to distract myself, a document caught my attention, triggering a sudden realization. 3 months earlier, Richard had asked me to review some engineering assessments for a new development his company was planning. I had noticed concerning discrepancies in the safety reports, but had set aside my observations out of family loyalty. Now those documents took on new significance. Opening my personal encrypted drive, I found the folder where I had been quietly documenting troubling patterns in Richard's business practices. Initially, I had collected this information as insurance, sensing the vulnerability of my position in the family. The evidence was substantial falsified. Inspection reports, substandard materials, approved through bribed officials, safety corners, cut to maximize profits. One file particularly stood out: documentation showing that the house Richard had gifted us was part of a tax fraud scheme. He had claimed massive deductions by transferring properties among shell companies while maintaining effective control, a practice that crossed well into illegal territory. I reached out to Michael, my college roommate, who had become a prominent attorney specializing in real estate fraud. Despite the early hour and ongoing storm, he answered immediately. "Isaiah, are you okay? I heard about the blizzard hitting your area." I recounted the events of the night with clinical detachment, then explained my discoveries about Richard's business practices. Michael's voice hardened. "What they did goes beyond family drama. Exposing you to those weather conditions could be classified as reckless endangerment, and the business irregularities you have described cross several legal boundaries." We talked for hours, developing a strategic approach. Direct confrontation would be unwise given the power imbalance. Legal action against Richard could drag on for years given his resources. Instead, we needed leverage that would force a quick, quiet resolution. "Your firm is being considered for the Westlake government contract, correct?" Michael asked. "Yes, final decision next week. We are favored over 2 other firms. And Richard's company submitted a competing bid through one of his subsidiaries," Michael confirmed. "That creates a perfect pressure point." Over the next 2 days, I remained at my office systematically gathering and organizing evidence. The building's security cameras had captured my arrival in near hypothermic condition timestamp, proving my timeline. I drafted detailed accounts of the pattern of emotional abuse, financial control, and culminating physical endangerment. Meanwhile, my phone continued accumulating messages from Amanda. By the third day, the count reached 47, their tone evolving from anger to confusion to panic as she realized I was not coming back. "Please, just tell me you are alive," read her latest text. "My parents have left. We can talk about this privately." I also received calls from Richard, which I sent to voicemail, and even one from Patricia, who left a message suggesting I was damaging Amanda's holiday experience with this childish disappearance. Through Michael's connections, I learned that Richard had scheduled a crucial dinner with government officials regarding the contract my firm was also pursuing. The timing was perfect for my response. I sent Amanda a simple message. "I am alive. I will meet with you and your family tomorrow at 1:00 p.m. at Marigold Restaurant to discuss next steps. All must be present." Her response was immediate. "Thank God. Yes, anything you want. We will all be there." That night, from a hotel room Michael had arranged, I prepared for a confrontation that would either free me from this toxic family or plunge me into an even more complicated battle. Either way, I would never again be the man who stood in the snow begging to be let in. The Marigold Restaurant offered the perfect combination of privacy and public witness. I arrived 30 minutes early, reviewing my documentation one last time and ensuring the recording device Michael had provided was functioning properly. From my table near the back, I could observe the entrance without being immediately spotted. Richard arrived first, his confident stride suggesting he anticipated an easy resolution, perhaps an apology from me. Patricia and Ethan followed, their expressions similarly unconcerned. Amanda entered last, her usual polished appearance disrupted by obvious lack of sleep, her eyes scanning the restaurant anxiously until she spotted me. "Isaiah." She hurried toward me, arms extended, as if for an embrace I did not offer. "We have been so worried. Your disappearance was completely disproportionate to what happened." "Let us discuss proportionality," I replied quietly, gesturing for them all to sit. Richard leaned forward, his expression shifting to what I recognized as his business negotiation face. "Isaiah, every family has moments of misjudgment. Perhaps the holiday stress and champagne led to poor decisions on everyone's part, but disappearing for days is hardly the mature response." I placed a folder on the table, but kept my hand firmly on it. "Before we discuss maturity, I would like to share some observations about business ethics." Richard's expression flickered almost imperceptibly. This is hardly the venue for professional discussions. On the contrary, I slid several photographs across the table, showing clearly dated inspection documents beside material samples. "I believe this is exactly the right venue to discuss the systematic falsification of safety reports on the Westbridge Towers project." The color drained from Richard's face as he glanced at the evidence. "Additionally," I continued, "I have comprehensive documentation regarding the true ownership arrangement of our house, including the tax filings that directly contradict the verbal agreements you made." Ethan started to speak, but Richard silenced him with a sharp gesture. "What exactly are you implying?" Richard asked, his voice dangerously quiet. "I am not implying anything. I am stating facts. Facts that would be of significant interest to the committee currently considering bids for the Westlake Development Project. The same committee I am scheduled to meet with tomorrow morning." Patricia gasped, her social mask cracking. "You would not dare destroy this family over a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" I removed my phone from my pocket and played the security footage showing my arrival at my office building, clearly injured from exposure. "Is that what you call potentially fatal exposure during a blizzard? A misunderstanding?" Amanda reached for my hand, which I withdrew. "Isaiah, it was just a joke that went too far. We never thought you would actually walk away in the storm. We assumed you would keep knocking until we let you in. When you showed me who you really were, I believed you the first time," I replied, the calmness of my voice surprising even me. "And I made my decision accordingly." Richard's businesslike demeanor returned as he assessed the situation. "What exactly do you want? Money?" "The house I want. 3 things, I said. First, full and clear title to the house transferred legally and properly. Second, financial compensation for the emotional damages and life-threatening situation your family created. My lawyer has prepared documents outlining a fair amount. Third, I want a legally binding non-disparagement agreement from all of you. And in return, Richard asked, my silence regarding your business practices. My firm withdraws from consideration for the Westlake project, clearing your path, and a clean, quiet divorce. The negotiation that followed was tense, but remarkably brief. Richard recognized the strength of my position, particularly with the government meeting looming the next day. By the time our entrees arrived, which none of us touched, we had outlined an agreement that Michael would formalize. As they prepared to leave, Amanda made one last attempt. Isaiah, please. We can work through this without such extreme measures. I love you. I looked at her directly. No, Amanda, you do not. You love the idea of molding me into someone your family would approve of. You love having someone to feel superior to, but you never loved me. As they walked out, I felt an overwhelming sense of liberation, as if I had shed chains I had not even realized I was carrying. 6 months passed in a whirlwind of positive change. The divorce finalized quickly given the leverage I held. True to our agreement, Richard transferred ownership of the house to me and paid a substantial settlement. My career flourished with my promotion to partner at my firm, following the successful completion of a major bridge project. Rather than continuing to live in the house filled with painful memories, I donated it to a local university, establishing a residential scholarship program for first-generation college students pursuing engineering degrees. The irony that Richard's name remained on the dedication plaque as a donor despite his objections gave me subtle satisfaction. Through professional channels, I heard that Richard's business was facing increased regulatory scrutiny, though not from any action on my part. It seemed his practices had finally caught the attention of authorities through unrelated investigations. Amanda reached out once during this period, her message revealing that her family's financial situation was becoming precarious as investors withdrew from Richard's projects. I have changed, she wrote. I realize now how terribly we treated you. Perhaps we could meet to talk about reconciliation. I declined politely, but firmly. Some bridges once burned should remain ashes. The most unexpected development came through my volunteer work at a community rebuilding project after spring flooding. There, I met Rachel, a dedicated elementary school teacher who spent her weekends helping families restore their homes. Our connection developed naturally based on shared values rather than superficial attraction. Unlike with Amanda, I found myself truly seen and respected by Rachel. When I eventually shared the full story of my marriage, she held my hand and said, "Their cruelty revealed their character, not your worth." Looking back on that snowy night when I was locked out and laughed at, I recognize it as the harsh but necessary awakening I needed. It taught me that respect cannot be earned from those determined to deny it. That true worth comes from acting with integrity even when no one is watching, and that sometimes walking away is the strongest response possible. The foundation I established using part of my settlement now helps students from disadvantaged backgrounds pursue engineering education. Each year, watching these young people overcome barriers reminds me that our lowest moments can become the foundation for our greatest contributions. Have you ever had to walk away from people who refused to value you? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story of standing up against disrespect resonated with you, please hit the like button to help others find it, and subscribe to this channel for more stories about finding strength in difficult moments. Consider sharing this video with someone who might need to be reminded of their worth today. Thank you for listening, and remember, the people who try to diminish your light often do so because they fear your brightness.